A CEO of Bungie is starting to become skeptical of the live service game model. This has become a top trending topic because, if you don't know, ever since Destiny 2's launch, it was a box service type game, which meant that it meant to be a new game coming out every year or maybe every few years. But Bungie quickly transitioned it into a live service model, introducing seasons and regular updates, and that proved to be a very lucrative decision for them. In fact, they kind of got ahead of the game's race when it came to live service games. But now all of that may be changing, with Harold Ryan here, who is one of the CEOs of Bungie, claiming that maybe not everything should be a live service game. In fact, a lot of people have been advocating for Destiny 3, which, if you don't know, going Destiny 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that is the box service model where you have a game arrives, there's a ton of content, a ton of new things to do. It's awesome, it's fun. There's maybe a few small updates, and then it's over. They discontinue it, and then and then they launch a new game. A year later, 2 years later, whatever it may be. You can do it on a 3-year cycle. It doesn't really matter. That's how the box service model works. It doesn't have as much longevity. It has its own problems. Like, for example, if you buy cosmetics, those cosmetics don't carry over, generally speaking. So it's not that the box service is a better way of doing things. That's the way games were made for such a long period of time, that once the live service style was introduced, kind of just became like wildfire and everyone wanted that. And now every game studio has like multiple live service games, it seems like. So here we go. Article from GameSpot says not everything should be a live service game. Former Destiny boss says, I think that model is appropriate for some games, but I don't think it's appropriate for all games. Do you think that the live service model is appropriate for Destiny 2? As a CEO of Bungie, Harold Ryan helped push the live service genre forward with Halo and Destiny. Years after leaving Bungie, Ryan says he observed that fans are speaking with their wallets and telling publishers that live service is not appropriate for all games. A lot of people have been criticizing this because the live service model kind of puts you like a hamster in a wheel, and it just keeps going. There's always new updates. And what that tends to do is you tend to not get as good a quality of content. You just get a consistent drip feed of content. And so we kind of reminisce on the days of old when a big game would just drop randomly and there'd be all this whole new world to discover and all these new things. And it was incredible, right? Destiny 1, when it launched, I mean, even the Taken King wasn't its own separate game, of course, but it launched and added so much. That was that kind of box model. It's gone now. Now we get these little tiny updates. I mean, the Edge of Fate is probably the craziest, tiniest update we've ever seen. Literally, we have a new campaign, a new planetary destination, a new raid, and then some quality of life updates to the loot systems, which isn't really content. That's just a change to the systems. That's it, which is crazy when you look back and compare that to the Final Shape, when you compare that to Witch Queen, when you compare that to the Taken King, any annual expansion. I think that model is appropriate for some games, but I don't think it's appropriate for all games. And game studios today, this day and age, they think it's appropriate for all games just because it's a more lucrative market, right? Netflix figured this out pretty early on, where if you get people to subscribe to your website or service, whatever you're providing, your entertainment platform, you will make a lot more money because people will subscribe and maybe forget that they're subscribed, and you'll just make a very consistent flow of revenue, and you can kind of predict how much money you'll make from month to month. Whereas when you do this sort of box model with games or with anything, you make a lot of money up front, but then you have to use that money to fund the many years of, in this situation, game development that follow afterwards as you develop the next game. Ryan told GI Biz, and I believe consumers are telling us it's not appropriate for all consumers. The live service bubble may have burst, with many titles in the genre performing poorly and shutting down. Some high-profile examples have included Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. I didn't even play this game. Did anyone play this? Was it good? And okay, of course, Concord. Concord is going to be remembered as the flop of the century, right? Even if Marathon does go live, they're actually referencing Marathon here, which is too funny. Even if Marathon does go live, Concord still wins when it comes to the flop of the century. Unless Bungie continues to pump more money into it than what was spent on Concord, which I believe was about 400 million from Sony. If Bungie pumps more than 400 million into Marathon and it flops, that's going to be insane. Though there have been numerous other titles closing down as well. A relatively small number of live service games are making up a big proportion of playtime, and this data might help explain why other games in the live service genre aren't faring as well. Of course, there are numerous other factors to play as well. So this is kind of the problem with live service, and I say problem lightly, which is that once one game does live service and does it well, it's kind of like, once they kind of own that niche in that market, it's very hard for other games to jump in. Whereas when you had the box games, it's like that new game could come out, you would sink your teeth into it, play it for a couple months, and then play something else, move on, right? Now you don't move on and play something else. Now you just continue to play the same game over and over and over again, because every week there's something new. I mean, look at Edge of Fate, right? Edge of Fate launches, all right, there's this whole new system, the portal, all right, we start leveling, we're getting geared up, we get ready for the raid. Raid launches, we do the raid, all right? 70% of the people cheat in that raid, infamously. All right, week 2 launches, we're still gearing up, leveling up, and week 3 we get Arms Week, which is where we were at last week, and now week 4 we've got Solstice. This is going to go on for 2 weeks, and I don't know what comes after Solstice, but we very shortly will hit the new Ash and Iron update, right? You see how like the hamster wheel keeps turning. There's always something new that's meant to come out. And next week there's this, and next week there's that, and next week there's this. And so if any other game tries to jump into the, first-person looter shooter genre, it's like, good luck. You got to go up against the juggernaut, Destiny 2. And you may hate Destiny 2, but it is the king of its genre. Part of the reason why 2K's Mafia: The Old Country was priced at $50 is because the publisher believes there is an audience and appetite for less expensive, more linear games that don't require huge time commitments. I think there is a decent appetite for that, especially when you look at mobile games and how well they do. Most people are using video games for escapism, so you get to escape into another world, and sometimes it's fun to escape into that world for 30 minutes, an hour. Some people want to really sink their teeth into something new and different and spend 6 hours plus. That's a game like Destiny 2. Sometimes you just want a short escape, and there needs to be games for that as well. Ryan left Bungie in 2016 after 16 years with the company. He's now the CEO and founder of Probably Monsters, a company that assists developers with early-stage infrastructure and support to help get games off the ground. The company just revealed its first 2 games, a roguelike action game called Stormlancers for Nintendo Switch, and a psychological horror game called Ire, a prologue for PC. Probably Monsters formerly owned Concord, developer Firewalker Studios, before selling it to Sony in 2023, only for Sony to close the game and shutter the studio in 2044. Oh gosh. Are they in part responsible for Concord then? This guy has a bad taste in his mouth because his name is associated with Concord. That's tough. Ryan said he would make another live service game if he saw the right game idea and the right audience. All the opinions that I have just been told, I'm not saying they're all negated or thrown into the trash, but if you're at any stage responsible for the game that is Concord, I think I question all of your opinions on everything. I don't know if I trust you or I take your opinion on anything. If you had any input in Concord, the biggest flop in video game history, I don't know if I trust your opinions, is all I'm saying. But he pushed back against the idea that a developer should focus too much on the business model. I think for sustainable careers, I think for the industry, it's pretty clear that we can't just pick a business model and say that's a reason to make a game. I mean, I think that the way it's going to work in a capitalistic sense is that the games that can continue to rake in more money will continue to hire more developers and build a bigger and better game. They will fix their sandbox, they will fix their narrative, they will add PvE, they will add PvP, they will add endgame, they will add build crafting, they'll add whatever. These games will continue to grow and build and build and build as long as they can continue to make more money. It depends on how much ROI they get, right? If they can continue to hire more people and scale upwards more and more, then the game gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that model is the live service model, and it just works way too well. Unfortunately, if you try to go back to like the ways of old, I don't think you're going to find as much success. You'll find some success. Like some of these games could probably have small teams and launch in the old model and do just fine and make a profit. But long term, it's going to be the live service games that are going to rake in money over the course of, when we're talking about the biggest games 5-10 years from now, it's going to be those games. As for Bungie, the company has undergone significant changes in recent times. With mass layoffs and a major studio reorganization in 2024, Bungie's next game, Marathon, is a live service title that publisher Sony believes won't suffer the same fate as Concord. You got to stop putting Marathon and Concord in the same sentence. I get why they are being associated together. And honestly, Marathon might suffer the same fate as Concord, but man, it hurts to hear that. It just hurts if you're Bungie to hear that. Not for me, I could care less, but it hurts if you're Bungie to hear that, because your game that you're trying to launch to be up here is being compared to the worst game ever. Every time you utter the sentence Marathon, it's associated closely with Concord, the worst game ever. It's like the optics are so bad for Marathon right now. It's unbelievable. The game was previously set for release in September, but has been delayed indefinitely. Honestly, it's crazy to think that Marathon would have been in our hands. We would be sitting here playing Marathon in 3 weeks' time, potentially, right? 3-4 weeks' time, we would actually be playing Marathon if it didn't get delayed, if it wasn't for the art theft. Despite Concord's struggles, Sony remains invested in live service, as does Ubisoft. Of course, like I said, they're businessmen doing business. Live service is the most lucrative model, whether you like capitalism or not. Here's the thing, if you don't, they will, is the expression, right? If you don't, they will. So if your gaming company doesn't want to do live service, that's fine. Others will. And when they do, they're going to make a ton of money, and they're eventually going to put you out of business. Capitalism is a vicious cycle in some ways, and capitalism definitely applies to gaming, especially when we're talking about multiple billions of dollars of money being funneled around into all these projects and studios. Ryan reflected on the upheaval at Bungie, saying, "It feels like they're in the very same place that almost everyone in the industry is, where the things that were working and reliable before aren't quite as reliable. We don't need to look back to the ways of old and be like, the box service model was better. Instead, what we need to do is try to look forward and understand that that box model worked for a period of time. Now it's all about live service. How do we adapt and evolve in this live service space, in a space that's ever more competitive? A lot of these companies gained a huge boost to revenue and money and hired more devs because of COVID. A lot of people being online more than ever before, playing video games, buying video games, etc. Post-COVID, a lot of people have left. Also, a lot of people in general don't necessarily want to spend as much time playing games, especially when a game requires you to invest so much time, like Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has just become significantly more grindy with the Edge of Fate than ever before, and a lot of people have been saying, I'm quitting Destiny 2 because of that. We've been watching those videos and reacting to them and, engaging with that type of commentary, because I find it interesting to see, what's drawing people away from Destiny 2 right now. But the reality of this situation is kind of like Pandora's box. Once it's opened, once the live service model was discovered, and they're like, aha, infinite money glitch, right? This is like the Destiny 2 players, right? There's an infinite money glitch in gaming, and it's called live service. Here, all you have to do is make your video game live service, and suddenly you're just raking in revenue month after month, and you can just keep adding more people onto the payroll. It just scaling up further and further, hiring more devs, bigger studio, more devs, bigger studio, more devs, hiring more remote devs, everything, right? Scaling higher and higher and higher. And once that's been opened, there's no putting it back. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. And so this is just the future. All these games are going to be live service, and the biggest games will be live service games. Period. Ryan said it's his hope that developers across the industry can find a sustainable business model for their game that makes players happy and brings in enough revenue for studios to pay the bills. Everyone can't be number one most successful game in the industry, he said, but I think we all could be shipping successful games. So there it is. That's his final statement on the issue. For a while there, we experimented and we jumped around from game to game, and people still do quite a bit. The gaming studio started to realize that if they could get you to stay in there one game, they would make so much more money. They started to add these little psychological tricks in these games where you've got elements of gambling and addictive psychological tricks in your game. You literally have FOMO if you don't log into Destiny 2 after a day. You're like, oh, what did I miss out on? Oh, there was a glitch and I could have had infinite cores or something, right? A power level hack, and I could have leveled up 200 power levels in 10 minutes and I missed out on it, right? Something crazy, right? Once they get you addicted to that, then they got you hooked in. These games are going to continue to do this practice because this is the model. This is how you make a ton of money. More so than the actual addictiveness to games is that the studios are required to add a high degree of quality to the games to keep us coming back. Myself personally, I've played enough video games across my life that I can kind of see where the, I'm like, I don't really fall for the trap too much. Like, I'll play when I want to play, and I'll take a break when I want to take a break. I'm not, I'm not worried about the FOMO, right? Right now, I'm nowhere near power level 450. I'm taking my time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not stressed by it. I might miss out on a thing or two. I might not get an item here or there, whatever. I'm not going to spend 15 hours a day for the next 2 weeks just to get 450 power. I'm not stressed by it. But others might. Others might be interested, especially when you see how shiny those tier 5s are, right? Those tier 5 weapons look very spicy and very nice. I'll take my time getting there. I'm not too stressed by it. But let me know what you think about the live service model inside video games, especially Destiny 2. Would you be a fan of going back to box service? Think about this for a minute. All of the cosmetics you own in Destiny 2, gone. All of the loot you own in Destiny 2, gone. But Destiny 3 launches. All new planetary destinations. Maybe even new classes with new subclasses. New abilities, new supers. This would require a massive amount of development. And this is not happening in our lifetime, probably. Let's be real. But would you be happy with that? Would you be happy with a Destiny 3, and then every 3 years they come out with Destiny 4? 3 years later, Destiny 5. 3 years later, Destiny 6. Would that really be what you want? Would that be more interesting than the live service? Or do you want Destiny to continue on day after day, month after month? The investment that you made inside Eververse, those cosmetics last forever. Your time investment in that exotic mission you played 5 years ago still matters because you unlocked that exotic and it is forever in your collections. You can always go back and pull out that Whisper of the Worm and use that when necessary on a boss. Do you like that reward, that long-term reward? Or do you like the excitement of something new coming out every 3 years, perhaps? There's no right answer to this, by the way. There's no like, I'm right, you're wrong, or you're right, I'm wrong. It's just a personal preference. And a lot of people lately in the Destiny community have been screaming Destiny 3. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. That's a wrap. We'll see you in the next one. Later.